Hello, welcome back for another video in this series, One Verse a Week. This video is on Parashat Vayeishev. This corresponds in your Bibles to Genesis 37 through chapter 40, verse 23. This is for the reading cycle corresponding to the Jewish year 5779. If you have found these videos to be of use or to be of interest to you, I wish you would consider subscribing to this channel. If you found them to be particularly useful, I wish you would consider supporting my efforts to produce new videos, new series along these lines. You can find the details below in the comments, in the description. You can find links to my PayPal and my Patreon page, as well as my Venmo account. All contributions are greatly appreciated. Okay, let us begin. This week we're doing Genesis 37:7. Let's read the verse a couple times. Vehine, and behold, Vehine, anachnu ma'almim alumim betoch hasadeh, Vehine kama alumati, vegam nitzava, Vehine tasuvena alumotechem, Vatish tachavena le'alumati. One more time. V'hine. Anachnu ma'almim alumim betoch hasadeh. V'hine kama alumati. V'gam nitzava. V'hine tasuvena Elumotechem, v'tishtachavena le'elumati. Okay, so let us start to break this sentence down. So in previous lesson, we learned that vav means and. Vav prefix means and. So va and hine, you'll see is repeated 3 times in this verse, means behold. V'hine, and behold, anachnu, we, ma'almim. This is a verb. Whenever we have pronouns, there is a tendency to bring the pronoun first before the verb, whereas there is a tendency by nouns to bring the verb before the noun. So here, this is a pronoun, we, nachnu. So we should automatically start orienting ourselves to at least look for a verb next to it. Of course, this is a verb. We'll deal with that in a second. Okay, so v'hine anachnu ma'almim. We'll find out what that means. Alumim. So alumim means sheaf or bundle. It's aluma is the word. It means a sheaf or a bundle. It's technically a feminine word, but it is one of those words that is neuter. It could go either way. So typically we're going to see it in the feminine form with the feminine ending ot. So we normally see alumot, something like that. Here we see it with im, alumim. So I had to think that this is all primarily because of literary concerns. So a certain alliterative quality of ma'almim alumim. It just has a certain alliterative sound that makes it a more pleasant to hear. Okay? But you'll find that this word aluma is brought both in masculine and feminine. Okay. So, hine anachnu ma'almim alumim, and behold, we were doing something to bundles. Betoch hasadeh. Betoch, inside or in the midst of. Hasadeh is the field. Of course, hey is the, and sadeh is field. So hasadeh, the field. So hine, v'hine, and behold, anachnu ma'almim alumim. We were doing something to alumim, our sheaves, our bundles. Betoch hasadeh, in the midst of the field. Okay, first clause. V'hine, and behold, kama It's another verb. We'll deal with that. Alumati. So the T this is possessive first person. My. So alumati means my sheaf. Okay. V'hine, and behold, alumati. Kama. My sheep did something. We see here, we see the order. We see a noun, and we see the verb comes here first. Whereas over here, we see a pronoun, and we see the verb second. So there's no hard and fast rules. There's just general trends in Hebrew. You can have you can have the pronoun after the verb, just like you would a noun. But generally speaking, if we have the pronoun, we'll see the verb will come after the pronoun. Whereas if we have a noun doing the action, we'll have the verb before it. That's just the general trend, especially in the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. V'hine, kama alumati, my aluma, my sheaf, did something. Vagam, and also nitzava, it did something. V'hine, and behold, tesubena, it's a verb, alumotechem. So chem is the possessive for your masculine. And we see here it's alumot, not alumim. It's alumot. So here we have the proper feminine ending, ot, alumot. It matches the feminine aluma, whereas previously we saw alumim. And I put forward, this is most likely because of the alliterative quality of ma'almim alumim. Okay, so anyway, v'hina, and behold, the subena alumotechem, your alumot, your sheaves, were doing something. V'tishtachavena, it's also a verb, and they did something. La'alumati, to my aluma, to my sheaf. Alumati, my sheaf, my sheaf. Lama meaning 2 or 4. Okay, so the whole sentence, the whole verse, really is 3 different clauses here. V'hine, and behold, anachnu ma'almim alumim, we were bundling sheaves, b'toch hasadeh, in the midst of the field. I just gave you what the verb means, fine. V'hine, and behold, kama alumati, my aluma, my sheaf did something. V'gam, and also nitzava, it also did something else. V'hine, and behold, tesubena, and alumotechem, and your alumot, your sheaves, did something. V'tishtachavena, and they did something. La'alumati, they did something to my sheaf. Okay, let's go look at the verbs. V'hine, ma'almim. So this verb, this shorish, aleph lamed mem, among other things, can mean to bind, to bundle up. Okay, and of course we have sheaf. We have this as the noun. We are bundling bundles. So in English we can make the noun into a verb. So essentially that's what's the same thing's going on here in Hebrew. We're bundling bundles. We're ma'almim alumim. Okay, kama comes from kum, kuf vav mim. That shorish, that root, and that means to arise or stand. So v'hine kama alumati, my aluma, my bundle, stood. V'gam, and also nitzava, or rather arose. V'nitzava and it stood. And it stood. So, as we've said previously, the shorish here, nitzav, has a little bit more passive connotations. It just sits there. Like, for instance, a standing rock, is called a matseva, which I think we saw last week. So, a matseva is a standing rock. After you stand it up, it just sits there. So, kama, it stood up, it arose, and nitzava, and it stood. Okay, and of course it's feminine because we're dealing with an aluma. An aluma is a feminine word, as we noted. Okay, so v'hine kama alumati, my aluma, my bundle stood. V'gam nitzava, and it also arose and it stood. V'hine, behold, tesubena alumotechem. It comes from the shorish samek vet, meaning to circle or surround. Circle or surround. So tasubena means and your bundles surrounded. Vatishtachavena, and this comes from shacha, meaning to bow. Tishtachavena, and they bowed. La'alumati, and they bowed to my aluma, to my bundle, my sheaf. So taken all together, vehine, and behold, anachnu ma'almim alumim, we were bundling bundles, we were sheafing sheaves, binding sheaves, betoch hasadeh, in the midst of the field, vehine, and behold, kama alumati, my aluma arose, v'gam nitzava, and it also stood. V'hine, and behold, tesuvena alumotechem, and your sheaves surrounded or circled, tishtachavena, and bowed, alumati, to my aluma, to my sheaf. Okay, let's look at the English. That's my translation. And behold, we were binding sheaves in the midst of the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and also stood, and behold, your sheaves surrounded and bowed to my sheaf. So we have three and beholds here. Just like we have in the Hebrew, we have vehine, vehine, vehine. Okay, let's look at what other translations do with this. I can tell you right now that I would expect at least some of the translations to get rid of or drop some of these beholds, because it sounds clunky in English, and many of the translations have a stated purpose of rendering more so a readable English than a literal translation. So let's go see what these translations do. Okay, we have the King James Bible. Fairly, usually fairly literal. There's some problems with it, but it's usually fairly literal. For behold, and we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. Okay, it's archaic, but it is more or less a fairly decent rendering of the Hebrew. You see the structure of the sentence is right. Let's see how many beholds we have. We have a behold, we have a and lo, and we have a behold. Okay, so the lo is akin to behold. So we have three beholds here, or two beholds and a lo, which is more or less three beholds. Okay, let's go to the NIV. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. So what's going on here? I see no beholds. The only hint at a behold is I see suddenly. Vehine, they render as suddenly. Otherwise, there's no reason there. Also, let's see here. and bowed down to it. Okay, fine. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field. Okay. When suddenly my sheaf rose, just easy to say in the field, and suddenly, Vahine, my sheaf rose and stood upright. Okay. While your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. So this while, it's whatever. We see that there's subtle problems here. Let's see what the NRSV does. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Okay, no first hine. And behold, suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright. Then your sheaf gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf. Okay, so they get rid of all the beholds, and they have a suddenly they're supposed to stand in and sort of give that sort of startled hine type language. So it again, not my preference. They're sacrificing literal, a literal rendering for readability. Okay, let's go to the JPS. There we were binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf. Okay, they see the GPS does the same thing. They remove all the hines, and they try to interject with suddenly. They try to interject something of the feeling of the scene that the verse is describing. Okay, not really my druthers. Let's check the art scroll, the stone. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the middle of the field. Okay, good. I like it. Hold. When, behold, another behold, my sheaf arose and also remained standing. Good. Then behold, your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. Okay, fairly decent, very good. I like it. They make an attempt of holding as much of the Hebrew pattern, the Hebrew sentence as possible. You've got our beholds, the sentences are the order. Okay, so let's go scroll back through here. Okay, so it looks like the KJV and the Stone are still, frequently they come out. I like the Art Scroll and the KJV the best. Okay, let us go back and just gander at the Hebrew again. These are not such common verbs. Kum is fairly common. Itself is occasional. Bow, that's a good one to know. It's frequently used, especially later on when we get to the scenes dealing with the temple, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, stuff like that. Okay, let's go back over here. Hine, of course, is a good one to know because it appears a lot. And behold, Nachnu we. Sadeh is a field. And Gam is also. These are good ones to know. Okay, I hope that was beneficial to you. I hope you'll join me next week for another verse. Kol Tuv, Hazaka Rabba. Keep learning.